Hello, everyone. This is JD Calderon, and this is Indie Comics Explained. And yet again, I brought on another fantastic guest. But before I bring him on, please hit like, hit subscribe, share out the video, let people know we're here. It's an unusual night for us tonight. It's Tuesday night, but you know what? Sometimes you got to take it when you can get it, right? And without further ado, let's bring on our guest, Mr.
Hey,
Brian
how are
Dojo
you?
Kun.
Hey,
Hey, how you doing, Brian?
I'm very good. Thank you. Thanks for having me on, JD.
Listen, thank you for being here. You know, we met under some unusual circumstances, but
Right.
here we are, right?
Well,
But
although this is our first time meeting face to face, I have uh, been in your chat a number of times and just
yeah,
tried to stir things up.
no, that's always cool. That's always cool. Thank you. So listen, man, let's get right into it. Let's get to find out a few things about yourself. So, Brian, let me ask you. There was at one point there was a little Brian, right? And that
Yeah.
little Brian encountered a comic book, and that comic book, not necessarily the first comic book, but what was that first comic book that inspired you to want to do comics?
Oh, to do comic books. Okay. Well, in 1999, I got to the point where I was collecting pretty much everything DC and Marvel made, in addition to some Valiant, Dark Horse, Image. Uh, there was even a few others like Defiant, but it
Mhm.
got to be too much because I had an infant and another one on the way. So at the end of 1999, I stopped collecting completely, just cold
Wow.
turkey, stopped collecting.
Mhm.
Well, it was difficult because it had been my hobby for many years at that point. So about 14 years later, I got back into collecting, and I
Mhm.
decided what I'm going to do is I'm going to collect just my three favorite characters: She-Hulk, Juggernaut, and Superboy. And Superboy being the one that Tom Grummett drew for about 70 or 80 issues. It went to 100 issues, but he only drew like the first 80. And only. Um, so those are my three favorite characters. I have picked up a few others that I know are in finite series like Vigilante, Firestorm, etc. But here's the thing, getting back into collecting just those few sort of led me to think, I've been collecting for so long, and I know I like certain kinds of characters. I've been in English literature for a long time. I've been in singing and acting, so I know I like to entertain. And because of the acting history, I know how to write a screenplay. So I thought, if I can write a screenplay, I can write a comic book with that in mind. And like I can do the blocking, the positions of the characters and all that. I think I can do this. So I wrote a script for She-Hulk. That's my favorite character. And I refined it, edited it, refined it again. I got it down to where I thought it was worthy. And
Mhm.
I pulled up the Marvel site and I went searching for, how do I submit this? As an artist, it's much easier to submit your work because you can just go to a con and you can show the artists, or you can send your pictures in, or just post them online. But a script, how do you do that exactly? So I looked all over the Marvel site, and finally, after about an hour of searching, I found a little paragraph at the bottom of a page that basically said, "You don't."
Right.
It basically said, "You go get published, we'll find you."
Mhm.
So I started looking for other opportunities at small press companies. I worked for two small press companies as a comic book writer before
Right.
branching out into my own as Dojo Kun Comics.
Mhm. So, what were those two companies?
One was called Affinity Storm Press, and the other is Red King Press.
Mm, okay. And what were you doing with them? Were you writing or editing?
Yep, I was writing comic books. So for Affinity Storm Press, I wrote a series called Shadow Faction, and that went. I wrote, I think, their first three issues before parting ways
Mhm.
with them, and then with Red King Press, I wrote all four issues of Siamese. When we
Okay.
parted ways, I bought the rights to my own characters basically, and published them under the Dojo Kun label. And
Mhm.
then last year, crowdfunded Siamese as a trade paperback. So that was funded within 3 days, and
Mhm.
fulfillment was successful in September and October of 2021.
Nice, nice, nice. Now, how did that work out that you had to buy your own rights back? I'm just
Well,
curious.
see, yeah, I was writing for him, his
Mhm.
company, and we had. I said parting of ways. That's really a nice way of saying it. We
Mhm.
basically had an issue. We'll just call it
Okay.
that. And he at that point owed me quite a bit of money. So I said, either pay that or sign my characters over to me, because I really, they were my babies. I had written them for months and months, and I had as many as 7 characters that I had introduced in that series. I said, so Siamese and all of the characters introduced therein are mine, or pay up, basically. And he came back with, well, they're worth a whole lot more than I owe you. And I'm like, well, I wrote them. They're really mine. You don't have the stories in mind. I have another whole miniseries. Anyway, after some debate and some, discussion, he agreed and he signed them over to me. And there was some issue with Indie Planet because they still had his company's logo on them on their site. So I contacted them and said, they're mine now. And I showed them this sign, when he signed them over to me. They still needed to contact him to ask him if it's okay to change the logo. Now, remember, he and I were not on good terms. However, he was gracious enough to do that without any hassle. So, credit to him, because I'm sure he was still unhappy, but he let it go.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. I always find those stories interesting. It's like you're writing your characters, but you have to get the rights back to them.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, what happened? Yeah.
Salazar asks in the chat if it was a discussion with fists. No, fortunately, he was in a different state. I'm not sure we would have avoided that if we were together.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes, listen, as grown men, older men, right? I haven't been in a fist fight in 25 years. I'm not looking forward to getting into any.
Oh, no. Yeah. You know what?
Something I'm looking forward to. Any of this.
I've been a karate student for a very long time, and I still would not want to get into a fight, because you know what? Even if I win, I'm sure I'd get hurt. Even if he wins, I know I'm going to hurt him. And then, okay, so we both go, 2 grown men go to the job the next day with maybe a broken bone, a black eye, and your boss is like, what happened to you? Well, I was a impulsive little kid, and I got into a fight.
Right, exactly.
No, we're not kids anymore, so I'm glad that we weren't together.
Yeah, I take the philosophy that at this age, if I get into a fist fight, I messed up really bad.
Yeah,
I messed up really bad.
Well,
if I can't talk my way out of it, I screwed up.
You know what? That's absolutely right. Jinshin Funakoshi, who created Shotokan Karate, actually has a saying that's, of course, it's been translated, but it's something like, the greatest fight ever won is the fight not begun. Right. Basically, even though you're a karate student and I'm teaching you how to fight, it's much, much better if you never have to use it.
Right. Yeah. I practiced from about the age of 15 to about 35. Then my knees kind of went, and I haven't been involved. But my teacher taught me, he said, listen, he says, you only need to know enough to get away.
So
block,
throw, and leave,
and run. Get the hell out of there. You're not a what is that, a pro fighter. You're not a prize fighter. You're not getting paid for it. So just get out of there. There's no need to be there. So all right, no, that's really cool. Now you're a writer, so you're working with artists, right? So how you filling out that gap? Like where are you finding those people to draw your books?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that, because that's also a fun answer. I have found artists from literally around the world. We'll be talking about a hardcover that I have on one of my campaigns pretty soon, and the people who did that cover are a married couple from Italy. Nice. So Andreas is the line artist, and his wife Monica is the colorist. One of my main artists on Siamese is from Brazil. I have another from the Philippines. I have some folks, a married couple that do my coloring and lettering from Russia. It's literally around the world. And it's a lot of fun too, because I get to talk to people about their culture, learn a little bit about them. We don't get into it too heavily, because after all, it's a business transaction, but it's still cool to talk to them. One of the people who does a lot of the lettering for me, her name is Quen Tang, and she is in Saskatchewan, Canada, but she's a Chinese citizen. And she's a paraplegic. She's in a wheelchair, and she plays rugby, basketball, and has even wheeled the Great Wall of China. Not the whole thing, of course, but a big chunk of it in a wheelchair is very challenging. And she was on Chinese television because of how amazing that is. So, I mean, like I said, I got people all around from different walks of life, different cultures, religions, genders, orientations, you name it. I just love all of the people I get exposed to in this industry. And one of the places I find them, which some of your viewers might be interested in, is a website called zwol.org, ZWOL. The guy who created it, his last name is Zwolinski, so he just shortened it. But it's a great place, and remember it's .org, but it's a great place to meet writers, colorists, letterers, line artists, pencilers, inkers, you name it. And you'll find people on that site of varying levels and skills, and of course price points. And if you can afford better, you'll get better artists. But if you're just starting out and you want to give somebody a chance, and that's what I've done in a few of my books, and they've turned out to be people who are pretty strong artists after they got going. So that's where I find some of it. Of course, some on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok.
Gotcha. TikTok, okay.
Even TikTok, believe it or not.
That's funny. Okay. I get most of mine still from DeviantArt. So. Oh
yeah, that's another good source. Yeah. And ArtStation. Oh, Art Studio, it's called.
I thought it was ArtStation.
Maybe it is Studio or Station. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. A lot of people have migrated over. I guess it looks nicer or something. Yeah. I think the functionality is just better. Who knows? Who knows? So, both of your campaigns are on Indiegogo, right?
That's right. Yep.
Now, why Indiegogo over Kickstarter? I'm just curious.
Well, let's see how not to be political about it. Okay, so a friend of mine in the indie comics industry had his campaign on Indiegogo, and somebody copied his entire campaign and posted it to Kickstarter.
Okay.
And they claimed it as their own. They failed to even remove his name from the bottom of the campaign. That's how sloppy they were in copying and pasting it. Well, they had about 5 backers at the time that somebody brought it to this guy's attention. And he got in touch with Kickstarter and said, that's mine. I'm the guy who wrote and drew and colored this whole thing. This guy who pasted it is a fake. It's a fraud. You take it down. And they said that didn't violate their terms of service.
Wow. Okay.
So he knows what I do for a living. I'm a certified fraud examiner. I'm a certified internal auditor and a certified anti-money laundering specialist. So he said, is there something I can do about it? And I said, well, I'm not sure, but let me talk to Kickstarter. I called them, and they basically said the exact same thing to me. This doesn't violate our terms of service. Of course, I was incredulous. I'm like, how could it not? And they said, it doesn't. I said, well, listen, knowing that it's a fraud, and I'm a fraud examiner, now I'm obligated to report this to the Federal Trade Commission. And they said, do what you got to do. I think maybe they were calling my bluff. So I called the Federal Trade Commission, and I said, I'm aware of a fraud that's being perpetrated. Kickstarter won't. They're being culpable. They're not taking it down. And so the Federal Trade Commission said, thank you for your alert, and we'll do what we feel is necessary. So now, in my opinion, at the time I thought, they're not going to do anything with it because it's not a whole lot of money. And usually in my experience, when you report a fraud, if it's not, a huge chunk of change, most federal agencies put it to the bottom of their list because they've got bigger fish to fry, really big, like $1 million or multi-million-dollar things. But for some reason, maybe it was a quiet afternoon that day because they got in touch with Kickstarter and it was down within 3 hours. So with their being willing to leave a fraudulent campaign up, I can't in good conscience post my campaigns on Kickstarter.
Gotcha.
I sometimes am willing to back somebody on Kickstarter reluctantly if they say they're not coming over to Indiegogo and I really like either the creator or their IP, but I'm very reluctant to send any money to Kickstarter.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, it's crazy how these organizations they comprise of people, right?
Absolutely, yep.
And once in a while, you have an idiot working in this organization.
It is impossible to avoid.
Right, you just have that person, right? And they're just not the brightest, not the brightest bulb in the lot. So you're just like. And they're probably given a certain amount of autonomy, and they're just like, the boss is like, just do what you got to do. And pretty sure once it got to someone higher up the food chain, they were like, "Yo, are you serious?"
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure they were like, "Well, okay, here's your write up. You know,
Yeah.
here's your write up. Just one more time, done with you." So they might have gotten the boot just on that one. I mean, I'd have been livid.
Yeah. That was really beyond the pale. And then there was another creator, Alejandro Infinity is his handle on the Indie Comics, and somebody did it to him too. They cloned his whole campaign.
This is my sister. How you doing,
Oh,
now?
hey, Marilyn.
It's a little weird. It's like, once in a while they check it up and they're like, "Is he still alive?"
Is he still doing that comic book stuff?
He's like, doing that comic book stuff. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm sorry, I interrupted you. What were you saying?
No, it's okay. A second person had that happen to them where they cloned their campaign, but they didn't have to have me call. They called up, and when they reported it, it was taken down.
Oh, okay, cool.
So
that's fantastic. I mean, we just can't have this stuff. You know what I mean? It's tough enough being an indie creator. You don't need anybody like stealing your IP.
Right. And both of them were great IPs, and I didn't want to see their names tarnished by this guy from Kazakhstan.
Mm-hmm. Really? Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So listen, you've done 3 campaigns, or you've done 1. You're running 2. Right. What's your biggest takeaway?
My biggest takeaway is even doing a campaign the same way you've done it before may or may not work. Mm-hmm. You've got to establish yourself as a known commodity in the indie comics realm by having your own YouTube channel, which I do. You have to be on Twitter an awful lot. Basically, the triumvirate, in my opinion, for a successful crowdfunding campaign is a platform like Indiegogo, a YouTube channel where you can get yourself out there, get people to know you, interview other creators, and become, to network. And then third, Twitter, because you can reach so many thousands of people. So just my followers on Twitter is over 2,200, but there's certainly more people who see it because a lot of those folks retweet, and I probably don't have all of their followers. So if they see it retweeted, it's a network of word of mouth, which really helps.
All right, cool. Here's one that I because I'll ask you the exact opposite of it. What's your favorite thing to do on a comic? Like, what is your like with that? We all have that. There are a lot of moving parts when we do comics, right? What's your favorite part that you like doing?
My favorite part is characterization. The two writers that I try to emulate most, and yeah, it's a lofty goal, but the 2 writers I try to emulate are Marv Wolfman, who did the New Teen Titans in the 80s, and Chris Claremont, who did the Uncanny X-Men for a long time. The reason I try to emulate those 2 in particular is, in addition to the great characters that they wrote, they also had great interpersonal relationships among those characters. And that's the fun I have when I'm writing comics, is that I try to make them not just a team of badasses going after the bad guy, but to the point where they're teammates, maybe even to the point where they treat each other like family.
Right. Okay. That's cool. Hold on. Let me just, Salazar said, do they clone the campaign to give the original campaign and create a bad thing they don't fulfill?
I think because it's on Indiegogo, you get the money after the campaign is done. I'm not exactly sure how they set it up. I think what they plan to do is take the money and run. So after they get a certain number of backers and they get the money, they can't fulfill because they're not the creator. So they just disappear. I don't think, honestly, although I can see why you would ask that, I don't think they're actually out to smash anybody or discredit anybody. I think they just see a campaign that they feel will fund, and they use that as their money making. Yeah.
A lot of desperate people out there, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's just weird what people will do to make money. I said, just do your best, go get a job, and work hard. What else can you do?
Yeah, find something you like to create.
Yeah, make your own comics. It's I would like to say it's not that hard. I mean, it is, and it isn't. It's one of those things I've been doing. I don't know, like you say, when did you first started doing the actual comics?
When I worked for those other two companies in 2012 through 2014, and then started my own company in 2014.
Gotcha. Now I started in '92 self-publishing.
Okay.
So yeah, I've been self-publishing for a while. So it's gotten to a point where it's like it's not that hard, but it is.
It
It's
is.
not that hard because I know what I'm doing and I've done it for a long time, and it's like yeah. So yeah.
Well,
Here we go.
one of the things that you asked me is, where I find all of these artists and creators and all that. But at the same time, it's fun to talk to all those people around the world. It's also difficult to herd those cats.
Yes.
Because they're, creatives can get a little flaky or a little,
Yep. I know. Sometimes it gets down to one of these things where it's just like, just the conversation is like, can you pick up the pace? And they're like, oh, but the pace, I said it like this for a reason. It's just like, okay, whatever. You just got to sometimes let it go. So yeah, it's sometimes a little weird. So here's a question for you. Are you a pantser or a plotter? So are you the type of writer that you sit down and you have all the little post-it notes, you got your little strings, and you're looking like an FBI agent, or do you just sit down and just start pounding the keys?
This is here's some of my note cards and notepads and
okay, so you're a plotter. I got you.
And this book here, this is called a rocket book. My wife got me this. You can write on all the page and then take a picture of it with your phone. It's got a QR code on it. You can save all of your handwritten notes to your cloud solution, and then you can actually search it for words you've written and stuff. So, yeah, I got notes all over the place. I've got a whiteboard over there with post notes all over it, and sometimes I'll move. This one needs to be in this issue, and then this.
Yeah. No, I got you. I'm more of a pantser myself. I just start banging.
Fly by the seat of your pants. Is that what that means?
Oh, yeah. That's what that means, yeah. But yeah, and then it's just I for myself, I don't know how it works for you. For myself, I feel the art is in the edit.
Okay.
So that when I'm doing my okay. What's funny is I've never read any of Stephen King's work except for his book on how to write. Okay.
Okay.
And the one biggest takeaway I got from that book was that first draft is yours. Put anything you want in it. Anything. You can dance on the sun. It doesn't matter. But be prepared to murder your darlings in the edit. In the second draft, third draft, so on and so forth. So that's why I say the art is in the edit, because that's where you really strip away to the bone, get it right down to its core. And that's how I work. And I was just like, all right, that's why, I'll write a script 2 years ago, and I'll be editing it now.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so that's usually how I work. I'll it takes me forever. So actually, let's pull up one of your campaigns.
Okay.
Cool. Toro Tales, please.
So Toro is a Spanish word for bull, but this word is to'urou, which is the stone lantern, the Japanese stone lantern in my company's logo. So this is Toro Tales, and it is an 88-page anthology of 9 different stories, which feature the debut of 10 of my characters in my connected superhero universe. So you heard me talk about Siamese a little while ago. These characters are all in that same universe, even though Siamese is not in this book. So the cover is it's a work in progress. This is actually just a penciled cover that was watercolored. And Eric Ninoltowski, the creator of Shadow Sentry, is doing this art for me. And once this is funded, he'll finish the cover, and it'll be far more detailed with a background and etc. But I'll be honest with you, I kind of like the way it looks now. I'm probably going to have this picture right here in the back of the book, just as a, sort of like a work in progress or a behind the scenes kind of thing, because I love it the way it is now. I can't imagine how great it's going to be when he finishes it.
Serious.
So here's some of the sample interior art. This is one of the characters, Bot 42. Bot 42 stands for Biometric Organ Transplant or Transport. a woman has created these robots to transport organs from one hospital to another for people who need them for transplants. And these robots are indestructible, and they can transport these things much faster than an ambulance can, because an ambulance will get stuck in traffic or there's dangers and all that, where these robots can dodge in and out just like a runner would, or a pedestrian, and they can leap over a car if they need to, if there's a traffic jam. So these things got to the hospital much quicker, and things go awry. She sees her husband in a near fatal car accident, and they transport his brain into one of these BOTs. And things go awry from there. Let me just leave it at that.
Gotcha. Nice.
This next one is Sakura. Sakura is Japanese for cherry blossom. And I always joke that she's not delicate like a cherry blossom, though. She's more delicate like a bomb.
Right.
This next one here is Lone Shark. He is an underwater super.
Mm.
And then lastly, Sovereign. And I say lastly, it's just because this is the last example. Like I did say, there's 9 stories in here. This is just 4 examples of the art inside. This one here I particularly like because, in my estimation, it's kind of like an emulation of Mobius.
Right.
I can see some similarities there, and that's why I asked my colorist to also use a similar color palette to Mobius.
Nice.
Now, on this campaign, the first 100 backers of a physical tier will get this BD Buddy. It's handcrafted, and it's going to look like Canadian Shield, which is one of the characters that you saw above on the cover.
Right. Cool.
There's still
now,
go ahead.
Who's crafting those for you? You making those yourself?
Nope, it's by a company called Bear Den Designs. I was at a craft show with my wife, and she was looking at quilts and baskets and things like that, and I'll be honest, I was bored. So I was walking around looking at whatever else. And there was a person there with these BD buddies, and they had Batman, Captain America, etc. And I saw them and I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. I'm like, would you be willing to do that for somebody's intellectual, my own characters? He said, sure, I would. Well, how many are you looking at? And I said, well, would you be willing to make 100 of them? He's like, whoa, yeah, that'd be great. So yeah. I'd love to be able to give him an order of 100 of these things, and he's excited about it. So he's already putting some of them together. I know he is.
Okay, cool, nice.
Yep,
that's awesome.
So here are the tiers for the campaign, and I kept both of these campaigns we'll be talking about very simple. This one here is to thank Dee for all of her support, to get her a fancy coffee. The next one is a digital tier. For those that don't want to pay for shipping overseas, because I know how that has been so expensive lately. I'm sure everyone knows about that. The physical copy is $25. Like I said, it's 88 full color pages. And another interesting thing about this campaign is this book is done. So as soon as it's funded and the campaign is done and Indiegogo gets me the money, the books get shipped out.
Cool.
Now, the next cover is an exclusive, limited to 50 copies. It's a hardcover version of Toro Tales #1. And it features Sakura on the cover by that married couple I talked about, the art of Puro from Italy. So Andreas does the line art, and his wife Monica does the coloring.
Nice.
So that's it for the tiers, except for there's a retailer tier available. If somebody out there has a local comic shop and they'd like to get these in their shop on the shelves, it'll hold up next to any other comics.
Cool.
Now, the add-ons, also only a couple of those. There is a set of chibi stickers. There's 9, even though there's 10 characters, there's 9 stickers because Halia and Undine are twins. So they're on the same sticker.
Cool.
Now, this is a supplemental ash can that's available as an add-on. This is an additional 8-page story about this character called Bog. The artist on this one is the artist who did the first 2 issues of Siamese.
Yeah.
Mike Salter is his name. And then I've got what everybody lovingly calls a catch-up tier. If you missed Siamese last year, this is another chance to get the trade paperback with a different cover. So those people who bought it, who backed me last year, don't feel like they're backing, their fulfillment is cheapened by the fact that there's more for sale. This one here is a second printing with a new cover. And this cover is by Cy Lim from New Zealand. And he co-created Siamese with me.
Oh, nice. Good morning, Mike Jimmy. He's in Europe, so.
Oh, okay.
They're like 6 hours ahead of us.
Right. So it's like 5 o'clock in the morning. Wow. Good early morning to you. So the goal for this campaign is $5,000, and the first stretch goal is $7,000. And when we reach it, everyone who backs a physical tier will get a comic book sized print of the first appearance of Bot 42. Mm-hmm. When we reach 9,000, they'll get an acrylic keychain of Bot 42. And this art here was also by Cy Lim. He co-created Bot 42 with me.
Nice.
And then at 11,000, we'll have a bloodied Bot 42 fridge magnet. Awesome. Now, I do have some other stretch goals selected, but if we get to 11,000, I'll reveal them at that point.
Gotcha. So if Salazar's asking, where do you get your ash cans printed?
Well, my first set of ash cans that came along with Siamese, it was called Meanwhile, with art by Jose Garcia. I printed that with Mix'em.
Okay.
And yes, I have heard some horror stories about Mix'em, but I can tell you that my experience with them was fantastic. I mean, there were some issues with the ash cans themselves when they sent them, and they took care of it immediately and sent me a new batch. And when I got the soft covers and hard covers of Siamese, there wasn't a problem whatsoever. So as it stands right now, Mix'em's okay with me.
I use them all the time. I've never had a problem.
Good to hear.
I mean, yeah. 5 a.m. for the Netherlands, and I'm feeling it. Yeah, 5 a.m. just, yeah. If I'm not sleeping, it sucks. Yeah. You want to pull up the other campaign?
Yeah, I was going to say, I know that you wanted to, let me just do that too. Share screen.
So as you're doing that, I mean, so what do you consider your greatest moment as a creator so far? Because obviously there's plenty more to come.
You know, I'd have to say my greatest moment was, and this was some time ago when I first started my own company, and I got the comics with my name on it, something I created, something I published. It was a sense of accomplishment. And, you know, it's hard for somebody who's a normie who doesn't collect or read comics or all that to understand how cool it is to see a comic that you created, that you wrote with your name on the cover. You know, it was like, it was a heady feeling. So I'd have to say that's it.
All right, cool. Mike Jimmy says, I've only heard horror stories about Mix'em since the paper shortage. Really no problems before that. You know, it's funny. I did an Oswald Chronicles trade, and it did take them an inordinate amount of time to get it done, which I was a little surprised. It took them, you know, normally it only takes 2 weeks. I think it took about a month to get it to me. But even so, I got the book. They look great. I mean, I was just like, you know, it still fell within my parameters of shipping. So, I mean, I only had about 4 days left, so I was packing fast. But they made it, so it was fine.
Okay, cool.
All right, so let's pull up this one. So I love this title though. Janice Hardy's Healing Wars Book 1: The Shifter. I like that type of title because I love long, goofy titles. I don't know why. Just for those things.
So, you know, why is Janice Hardy's name on it, right? She is an award-winning novelist that wrote a trilogy that my wife read first. She read it and said, hey, I think you'd really, really like this, Brian. So I also read it, and she was absolutely right. I loved it. I'd have to say that if I was going to liken this to another trilogy, I would say either Hunger Games or Divergent, where the female protagonist starts on the hero's journey right from the beginning, you know, meager beginnings, and then steps up to become the hero the world needs. So this one here features Naya, and Naya is, she's an orphan on the run. Her nation has been taken over by enemy forces, and they're not pleasant. And some of the folks in her world can do something called, they're takers, and the takers can absorb pain from a person and then push that pain into a blue metal called pinvium. Well, the pain merchants then fashion those pieces of metal into weapons like axes and daggers and swords and things. such that when I, hit you with a sword, for example, of course, you're going to get the pain that the sword itself would cause, but then it also transfers to you all the pain that was stored in the metal by the takers.
Ouch.
Naya's skill is flawed, though. She can't push the pain into the metal. She can only push it into another person. So she can absorb it, and then later, and she feels it when she absorbs it, but then she can go and push it into another person, and she can do it pretty quickly. So her touch can cause pain if she's found someone and absorbed it from it, So if the enemy forces find out she can do that, because this is a super rare skill, they'll probably weaponize her against her own people. So she's got to stay on the run and not get found out. So this is the cover. It is by Zilson Costa from Brazil.
Nice.
The colorist is H.G. Tobalina from Spain. The letterer is Eric Weathers from somewhere in the U.S. Hardest working letterer in comics. You'll find his name on a lot of books. So here's some sample interior art. Zilson does a great, he's a fast artist, and he and I have been working together for years. He did Siamese number 3 and 4. So he and I have a fantastic rapport. When I sent this page to him in the script form, I said that Naya is going from merchant to merchant throughout the morning, trying to find work. Like I said, she's an orphan, and she's not cared for. And he took it upon himself to make it puzzle pieces. And I'll tell you what, in my opinion, that's brilliant. I think this is a great idea. The first 3 pieces, as you can see, is all one picture that shows her going from here to here to here. And then the other 3 pieces of the puzzle are different merchants throughout the morning. So I just think he does such a great job at sometimes giving me exactly what I asked for, and sometimes returning something even better than I asked for.
No, that's really, really cool. Let me just put these up real quick. To see your own first work printed and in your hands is something you just don't get tired of. This is very true.
That's right. Yep.
That's one hell of a tongue twister. That is a big goal. Dang.
Yes. And you know what? I'm glad you mentioned that. As you can see, we're not getting very far at all just yet. I think a lot of people are seeing that goal, and it's giving them pause. But one of the reasons is, of course, the cost for the artist, the colorist, and the letterer. But more than that, too, there's a license that I need to pay to the author of the novels. Gotcha. And by the way I got to know her and get this opportunity, after I had read the trilogy, I was talking about it to my friend. I liked it so much, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I've read that. Do you want to talk to the author?" I was like, "Sure, I would. How can you arrange?" He's like, "I work with her husband." Oh, that's a small world kind of thing, because they don't live locally. They live in a state that's like 1,800 miles away. So I thought it was pretty cool. Talked to her about adapting this into graphic novel form, and she was excited about it. Her and her husband are geeks too. They like sci-fi and comics and all that stuff. So that was kind of cool that she agreed to that.
Nice.
But Zilson's art, when it's a distant picture, the faces aren't very detailed, like here. But when it's close up, he's great at capturing expressions and emotions.
Yeah, no, those are really nice. I like the way her hair is flowing. Like you tell there's wind. They're not just static,
Because they're on the water. You can see that the flags are moving because of the wind, and so are their hair in the same direction. Yep. Yeah,
that's really cool.
And then this page here is great because of the picture of the ferry boats colliding in the background, and her shocked expression, and then she's grabbed from behind, and her shocked expression. So I mean, I can't rave about his art enough, and he's very quick.
Nice.
Now, I launched on the same night as another creator named Jake Adams, and Jake has a book called Cobalt Death Stalks Us. The reason I mention it is we are doing this print. If you back Cobalt Death Stalks Us at a physical tier and my book, The Shifter, at a physical tier, you get this print for free. And this print features Cobalt and Naya, but it also features a whole bunch of other indie creators' characters, like Ella from The Lucent right here, Monstro from Downcast, Dan Fraga's Black Flag, And I mean, even Krishna Kid by Kami Mark. So there's about 15 other characters on this poster, and I'm sure that a lot of you recognize this. This is an homage to X-Men number 141, the first of the 2-issue story arc called Days of Future Past.
Yep, very iconic. Love it.
Yeah, exactly. So for the campaign tiers here, there's to buy Deanna a fancy cup of coffee. There's the this one is a 70-page book, and it's the first of 2 that will adapt the first novel. So the first novel is called The Shifter, and that's what the first book is going to be called. The second book of the 2-book adaptation will be called The Pain Merchants.
Cool.
There was a one-of-a-kind Dave Ryan sketch card tier, but I won't linger on that one too much because, as you can see right here, the first backer bought it immediately. So, so that one's gone. But I think it's so cool the way Dave Ryan did it. He's got like gloss on her lips and her powers and her eyeliner.
Yeah. Yeah. He used the metallic pens. It will look really nice.
Right. Yeah. The Grand Duke of Basir tier is 2 copies of the book, 2 copies of the accompanying coloring book, the 5 chibi stickers, and this here is called You Are a Shifter, where he's Cody Conyers is the pinup artist. He's going to do Naya with you as a shifter next to her.
Oh, okay, cool.
So we'll get a picture of you, and you let us know if you want male, female, or androgynous, whatever you want there. It's your call, and we'll put you on a print with Naya. The next tier is the Soldier, Citizen, or Healer drawn in tier. We're going to have 25 of those available. People want to be in the book as either a citizen, one of the other healers, like a taker, or you could be one of the soldiers, which, as a reminder, that's the bad guys.
Gotcha.
Some people like to be the bad guy. And then there's also a retailer tier for this one.
Nice.
Again, I kept it pretty simple. The add-ons are just the chibi stickers at 10. If you get the book and you'd like just one of the coloring books, that's an add-on as well.
Cool.
The You Are a Shifter tier, where I just explained that you can have yourself on the print with Naya. And that's limited to 50 of those. And then for stretch goals, I'm being a little mysterious about this one because I don't know if we're going to attain the 10,000. If we do, at that point, I'll see how the campaign's doing and then decide the dollar amount for the next stretch goal, because the whole point of a stretch goal, obviously, is to stretch the backers, to encourage them. So if we get to that and we have this stretch goal, it'll be a painted comic book sized pinup. The next one will be an ash can, the making of the shifter. Nice. And the third will be a challenge coin, which when I did the challenge coin for Siamese, it was a really big hit. People loved the challenge coin that I got with Siamese. Let me see if I can quickly get this out of here. Oh, come on. There we go. All right, let me look at StreamYard so I can see. All right, if you want to solo me out for a second, you can see what the challenge coin looks like. So this is what the front of the coin looks like.
Nice.
You can see that it's really substantial. It's a thick coin. And then on the back, it's got Dojo Kun comics.
Nice.
The To'uro'u. Now, the back of the shifter coin will look just like this, but the front, of course, will have perhaps either the cover image or maybe just Naya in a battle pose. But the challenge coin will be high quality. I love these things.
No, that's really cool.
And then there's just one more stretch goal that we have revealed so far, and that is a metal trading card.
Ah, okay. Those are always fun. I like
those look great.
Yep. Nice. Hold on. Let me put some of these up real quick. Salazar Our Nation says, I make mini comics and ash cans at home. I'm going to be doing a small run locally with a printer here. It's going to feel great seeing my book with my name on it actually printed more professionally. Yes, it will. It definitely will. Salazar Our Nation, it's the best. So Mike, and then Mike also says, oh, that puzzle piece layout is epic. Yes, it is.
Yeah, I agree.
And Salazar says, oh, nice. And I think you were talking about the challenge. Your challenge card is awesome. That's the next thing on my list. I did a pin. I did a pin, and I did a T-shirt.
Okay.
So I did those two. So next is the challenge coin. Yeah.
So if you'd like, after the show, I can get you in touch with the vendor that made these for me. They did a fantastic job.
No, definitely. Because yeah, I mean, I always love doing the little tchotchkes because that's part of the fun.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, that's part of the fun of doing this. It's just like, I got all this little stuff, got stickers and stuff. People don't understand it. It's like, look, for myself, writing the book is fun, right? But getting the extra little things, that's just as much fun, if not even more fun, because that's not something that's not a realm I deal in every day. You know,
Right.
it's just like, oh, I got a challenge going. Oh, this is really cool. I like this. One of those things. Yeah. Now, just out of curiosity, I see the coin. Is it bronze?
Yeah, I believe it is.
Finish?
I believe it's bronze and then color plated.
Right.
You can add, like, there's red on the front in the word Siamese, and on the back, obviously, a lot of yellow.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's one of those things. I have this thing. I want bronze coins.
Okay. Yep.
So when I die, they can put them on my eyes and my teeth.
Oh, jeez. With a little X on them?
No. It's the Greek thing. When you go on the river, so you can pay the ferryman.
Right. The river Styx.
The river Styx.
Charon.
Yes. You're like, here you go. I got a bunch of coins for you. There you go.
That's
a little weird, but yeah.
On my YouTube channel, I actually have a short video. It's about 6 or 7 minutes that explains the origin of challenge coins, where they came from back to Roman days and through the U.S. military, and then how they're used by civilian companies now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, they're awesome. Gotta have your extras.
Yep.
I guess he was just laughing about the thing. All right, Brian, we've been at this for a little minute. We're almost done, but we're not done just yet. Right. So before we move on to my goofy questions, please let everybody know where they can find you and your work, sir.
Oh, okay, yes. So in addition to finding me on Twitter at Dojo Kun Comics, you can find both of those campaigns, Toro Tales #1 and The Shifter on Indiegogo. And then lastly, I'd like to mention my website, which is dojokunsite.wixsite.com/Dojo Kun Comics. And JD has been kind enough to put that in the description below.
Yes, that's all in the show.
On the website, you'll find these 2 campaigns, of course. You'll also find the 12 comics I've published before, as well as a lot of the things that we have in the queue.
Okay, cool. Nice. All right. So first, all right, sir. So let's say, doesn't matter if this person is okay. All right. What is this? Mr. Lanning says, "Hey, Brian."
Yes. How you doing?
And then YJ says, "Oh yeah, the goofy questions." Yes, everybody.
Yeah, he says, "Yay!" I'm ready. What you got?
All right. So it doesn't matter, living or dead, right? Any artist, if you had the choice of any artist, living or dead, don't worry about budget. Who would you get to illustrate a cover for you? A guest cover for you.
George Perez.
Okay. Cool.
He's got to be my favorite artist of all time when it comes to comic books. Yep.
Okay.
Byrne is a close second, but still not as good as Perez.
Gotcha. Okay. Fair enough. Sounds good. All right. Now, let's say you got the golden ticket and they called you up to the big leagues and they said, Brian, pick any IP, any character, group, whatever. And it doesn't have to just be Marvel or DC. It could be from anywhere. It could be Image, Dark Horse, whomever. What would be the book you'd want to write?
Wow, that would be difficult, not because it would be hard to pick, but because it would be hard to accept an offer from those big companies. Just the way they're treating their creative talent now. Okay, but if I was convinced to grab that golden ticket and go up to the big leagues, to what normally people call the big 2, I would want to write She-Hulk.
Okay. And maybe I should clarify. It doesn't have to be just the big 2.
Right. Okay.
Like for myself,
yeah.
If and I hope Bill Black doesn't hear this. I don't know if you know who that is. He owns Americomics, is the FemForce.
Okay.
Captain Paragon. I would love to get a shot to write Captain Paragon. And one day I may contact him and say, hey, how can we make this happen? But we'll see. That's a little bit down the road.
I've been asked to write a story for another publisher. I don't know if I'm at liberty to share who that publisher is, but I'm excited to have the opportunity to write one of his characters. It's going to be fun.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I just recently wrote something for an anthology for The Sword and the Sorcerer.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, so they got the rights to it, and it was just like, and it was funny. The artist Ozzy Longaria, he was like, he had asked me to do this probably like 6 months ago. He was like, JD, you gonna make? And it's just a short, and I was like, yeah, I'll write it. And then about 3 weeks ago, he was like, yo, bro, you're not interested anymore? What happened? I was like, oh shit.
Oh,
and I was like, and I had most of it plotted out, and I actually knew the plot. So I was just like, okay. So I took 2 days off from work. I watched the movie and I wrote the script. I was like,
awesome.
Yeah, I was just like, you know what? Listen, anything for a friend. I was like, listen, anything to get away from work for a couple of days, it's fine by me.
That's great.
Yeah. So now, let's move on. I have some comparatives for you, right?
Okay.
I will softball you with a couple of them, and then we'll move on to some of the tougher ones.
Oh, the increase in difficulty. All right.
Well, this is all test. This is a geek cred test. So
I'm ready.
Captain America or Batman?
Captain America.
Okay, and some of these will come with a Y. Okay.
Is that a Y?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Yeah,
okay.
Let's make that with a Y. Go ahead.
Captain America stands for an ideal. He is a fantastic leader, and he can bring teams together, even teams that have very disparate characters on them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Fair enough. Godzilla or Gamera?
I'm going to go with Gamera. I think I grew tired of Godzilla. Gamera, correct me if I'm wrong, Gamera is the turtle, right?
Yes. Gamera.
Yes. Okay. He can fly. He's got those rockets that come out of his sockets. He can fly in a circle. Yep. He makes himself like a projectile. I like that.
He's also Guardian of the Universe.
Oh, sweet.
It was like, I think it was Guardian of the Universe and Friend to All Children. It was something weird like that when I was growing up.
That is weird.
Okay. Eisner or Toth?
Wow, they both are classics. I'm going to go with Will Eisner.
Okay.
Yep.
Secret Wars or Crisis on Infinite Earth?
Ooh. Okay, I'm going to go with Crisis because of the artists involved, and because even though Secret Wars had some very cool characters in it, I think the art was phoned in, and I think that some of the interactions of the characters were very, very silly. Like when Claw lost his mind and he started rhyming and repeating himself like a child. I didn't like that at all. When Spider-Man basically schooled the entire group of the X-Men, like all of them, come on, really? I mean, Wolverine alone gave him trouble in the Spider-Man Wolverine crossover. So for him to just jump around and basically beat up all of the X-Men, no. I think Secret Wars is silly, so I'm going to go with Crisis.
Okay, fair enough. You want to hear something funny? That was my favorite scene from the Crisis.
Sorry.
No, it's hilarious. It's funny because it's always fun to see how people differ in opinion, right? Because that was my favorite thing. It was like, yeah, Spider-Man schooled him. It took Xavier to get him out of it. It was that and Thor, like when he's just outside and there's like these crazy storms and he's just having a great time, just being in the middle of this insane storm. And it's just like, oh, okay.
If you want to go way back to the very first miniseries, Contest of the Champions, where the Game Master and Death were picking their champions. In that, there's 2 scenes with She-Hulk that I take umbrage with. Number one, she's fighting Sabra in the air. Sabra's she can fly, so she's got Sabra by the wrists and all that. She decks Sabra. Sabra goes to the ground, but they show She-Hulk is still up in the air, like she's hovering or something. Yeah.
Right. That's the Israeli character, right?
Yeah, exactly. But She-Hulk doesn't fly, so the fact that she's still up in the air, it's like how lazy writing, lazy writing. And then later, She-Hulk's about to grab the little wedge of the globe that they're after, and Iron Man comes in and he says that he's going to pull his repulsor. I don't know what that means exactly, like lower energy maybe. And he zaps her like point blank, and she's like, oh, and faints. It's like, no, She-Hulk is near Hulk strength.
Yeah.
He's going to have to do a lot more than pull his repulsor and knock her out. So that was another one where the writer didn't know the characters they were writing.
Yeah, or just they weren't doing, like, they didn't know him well enough.
Right.
Because Shooter wrote, I believe he wrote what is it, Secret Wars. I don't know who wrote the other one.
I think it was Champions. Maybe it was. I mean, I know Milgram is an artist, but was he also a writer?
He might have been. I'm not. That something.
I'd have to look that up. Yep.
Kirk or Picard?
Oh boy, Kirk is the classic, but he's an overactor. I'm going to go with Picard.
Gotcha. Okay, fair enough. Asimov or Heinlein?
Asimov. I like the whole idea of the 3 rules of robotics.
Okay. Cool. You want to hear something funny? I can only ask that question to people of a certain age.
Hey. Oh, okay,
no,
fine.
I say that being in that age group.
I understand. I'm just kidding.
Because I get some kids in here. They were like, "Who?"
Yeah,
exactly. I never heard one of them. And I mean, as because Heinlein is the one. Because as great as he was, people just forgetting who he is. You know what I mean? It's kind of sad. I mean, you think of Cat's Cradle, Strangers in Strange Land, and all these Starship Troopers, all these wonderful books that he's written, and it's just people they just don't know who he is. It's one of the reasons I asked the question, just to try to keep him, still out there.
Yeah, hopefully somebody will see this and go and hear this conversation and go, well, if Heinlein is that great, let me go find him. And for those of you who want to look, his first name is Robert.
Yes, it's Robert Heinlein. All right, here we go. Some of us are just young, okay? Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you.
I had somebody on my show the other day who said something about, well, my dad is 52. And I'm like, oh, shut up. Your dad is 52. I'm older than your dad? Right. Shut up.
Yeah. I resemble that remark. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Akira or Nausicaa?
Well, I'm going to have to plead ignorance on the second one. I did see Akira, and I have all 35 issues of the book, so I'll have to pick Otimo and go with Akira.
Okay. Nausicaa is Hayao Miyazaki's first, not his first animated feature. I think it's the second one. But yeah, it's Hayao Miyazaki. It's one of his films. It was one of his earlier ones.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. Yeah, I know of Katsuhiro Otomo, but I didn't know the other guy.
Oh, okay. Totoro? You never heard of Totoro?
No.
Totoro or Spirited Away?
Oh, I've heard of that one.
Okay. Well, if you ever get a chance, do you have HBO Max or HBO Plus or whatever that thing is called?
No, we don't. We actually don't have television of any kind.
Oh.
Our TV's not even plugged in.
Whoa. Okay. You're way smarter man than myself. If you ever get a chance to see those films, I would suggest they're beautiful. Okay. They're beautiful movies. Excellent. All right. Let's see. Pinhead or Freddy Krueger?
You got me with one of my weak points. I don't like horror movies at all, but I did see Nightmare on Elm Street, so I'll call Freddy Krueger.
Okay, cool. So, all right, here we go. Lord of the Rings or Star Wars?
Oh, Lord of the Rings by far.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. I'm way into high fantasy more than science fiction fantasy.
Okay. Frank Miller or Alan Moore?
Frank Miller.
And why?
and why? I think mostly I would pick Frank Miller because I was a huge fan of his stuff during my, I guess it would be either late teens or early 20s, probably in my early 20s, when he did his run on Daredevil.
Mhm.
That was phenomenal, obviously. When he did Dark Knight Returns, I just, at that point, his style, at the very beginning, it struck me as too stylized. Like I couldn't tell in some panels what was even happening. But the more I looked at it, the more I got used to it, the more I loved it. And when he did Daredevil 181, where Bullseye and Elektra fight, the fight scene is fantastic. I had a huge respect for Bullseye because he took on this ninja assassin chick and won. Sorry, spoiler alert. but yeah, I was amazed at that. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Miller.
Gotcha. No, I agree wholeheartedly. Look, I mean, my Jimmy. Before this show, I loved you. I don't know about it anymore though.
You know, because I'm trying to keep this family friendly, I'm not going to tell you what I was just thinking.
I still love you, Jimmy. I still love you. Doctor Strange or John Constantine?
I'm going to go with Doctor Strange on that one, and mostly because of the fact that I read his books for so long. And Constantine, I don't know enough about Constantine to really pick him as a favorite.
Okay, fair enough. All right, we've done a few of these. I'll ask you a couple more, and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
Okay. Oh. All right. Labyrinth or Pan's Labyrinth? I don't know if you're familiar with those two films, but they are high fantasy.
Yeah. I think of the two, I think I saw Labyrinth.
Okay.
Is that the one with Bowie?
Yes.
Okay. That's the one I saw. So I'll pick Labyrinth.
All right. If you ever get a chance to watch Pan's Labyrinth, it is in Spanish. So it's a foreign film, but it's directed by Guillermo del Toro.
Okay.
He's the guy that did.
Yeah, I know Del Toro.
Yeah, the giant robots. I just watched the damn thing the other day.
Reign of Steel? No, Pacific Rim.
No, Pacific Rim. Yes, I literally just watched it like last week, and it was just like,
oh, okay,
yeah. And of course, I forgot it. All right, here's one for you: Stan Lee or Jack Kirby?
I'm gonna have to go with the hot take on this one and say Jack Kirby. Okay. And the reason is, I know Stan Lee was responsible for a lot of the characters that I loved as I was growing up, but I feel that Stan started to believe the praise he had heard through the years and became way too enamored with his own fame. Kirby, although I really don't like the weird poses he draws characters in, but the thing is, he took this medium to new heights, and truly, he was a master of his craft. And the fact that he did so many characters all at once, he had like 3 or 4 books he was doing on a monthly schedule. I just can't imagine the nose to the grindstone that took. So that deserves quite a bit of respect.
Okay, cool. All right, listen, we're gonna cap it off with this one. This will be the last one. Hold on, let me put up Mike Jason. What is he saying? Okay.
He's not apologizing.
He says, I'm not apologizing, and he says, I may look 40, but I'm still 28. There you go. Here we go. Todd McFarlane or Arthur Adams?
I'm going to go with the Todd Father, notably because of his, I guess, persistence, his dedication to the book that is the longest running comic book series consecutively. I think Dave Sims' book. Yeah. I think that is real close, if not the same number of books. But yeah, Todd McFarlane's art on Spider-Man, on the X-Men, on his own IP Spawn, it was inspiring. And of course, he's one of the guys that started the whole image revolution. And although I'm not enamored with all of those guys, I think that what they did was a renaissance, was a new. It was something new, and it was the shot in the arm I think that the industry needed.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Fair enough. Thank you so much, Brian. And one more time, please let everybody know where they can find you and your work, sir.
Okay, thank you for having me. My Twitter handle is Dojo Kun Comics, and you can find the two campaigns we talked about: Janice Hardy's The Healing Wars Book 1, Part 1, The Shifter, and Toro Tales on Indiegogo. And lastly, my website is dojokuncomics.wixsite.com/dojokuncomics.
All right, cool. So there it is, folks. Go back those books. They look fantastic. Thank you so much, Brian, for being here. And listen, I will be back on Sunday. So thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Brian. And like I said, go back those books, folks. The links are in the show notes. So go check them out. Go support. Go support those indie comics. All right. Now, what does he say? Stay awesome, guys. Real guys. I can see this part of this one. Thank you, Jimmy. I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Have a good night, guys.